Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bhakti Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtotadashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Gandharvaloka Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Seventh Canto, the Science of God Realization. Is it? No, the Science of God. Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, text 69. Parabhavam Kaschid Gandharva Upabaryahana Namna Tite Mahakope Gandharvanam Susamataha Aham Purabhavam Kaschit Gandharva Upabarhanaha Namna Tite Mahakope Gandharvanam Susammataha Aham Parabhavam Kaschit Gandharva Upabarhanaha Namnaitite Mahakalpe Gandharvanam Sasammataha Aham Prabhavam Kaschid Gandharva Upabarhanaha Namnaitite Mahakalpe Gandharvanam Sasammataha Aham, I myself, Pura, formerly, Abhavam, existed as, Kaschit, Gandharvaha, one of the denizens of the Gandharvaloka, Upabarhanaha, Upabarhana, Namna, by the name, Atite, long, long ago, Mahakalpe, in a life of Brahma, which is known as a Mahakalpa. Gandharvanam, among the Gandharvas, Susamamataha, a very respectable person. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Long, long ago, in another Mahakalpa, millennium of Brahma, I existed as the Gandharva known as Upabarhana. I was very respected by the other Gandharvas. Purport. Śrīla Nārada Muni is giving a practical example from his past life. Formerly, during the previous lifetime of Lord Brahmā, Nārada Muni was one of the denizens of Gandharvaloka, but unfortunately, as will be explained, he fell from his exalted position in Gandharvaloka, where the inhabitants are extremely beautiful and expert in singing, to become a śūdra. Nonetheless, because of his association with devotees, he became more fortunate than he was in Gandharvaloka. Even though cursed by the Prajapatis to become a śūdra, in his next life he became the son of Lord Brahmā. The word Mahakalpe is described by Srila Madhva Acharya as the Tita Brahmakalpe. Brahma dies at the end of a life of many millions of years. The day of Brahma is described in Bhagavad Gita 8:17. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ahar Yad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Te Huratra Vido Janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Bhagavan Sri Krishna can remember incidents from millions of years ago. Similarly, His pure devotee, like Narada Muni, can also remember incidents from a past life, millions and millions of years ago. Do you think you give me like a first canto, please? Amiganatividandasya gananjana shalakaya chakshulannaditamena tasmai shri gurave namaha makam katidvachalam pangalmunkai tegidim yakripatamaham vande shri gurundinitaranam Ancha Kapadribishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Long ago, in another Mahakalpa, millennium of Brahma, I existed as a Gandharva known as Upabarhana. I was very respected by the other Gandharvas. Hare Krishna. So Narada Muni is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, he'll begin to tell him of his past life. And as Srila Prabhupada says that similarly, his pure devotee like Narada Muni can also remember incidents from a past life millions and millions of years ago. So Narada Muni, in his particular position, he's remembering his past lives, one of his past life, millions and millions of years ago. And then we typically think of Narada Muni's past life as a son of a maidservant, which is the life he accepted after being cursed. He fell down from Gandharvaloka. That's the life we generally think about and hear about. That one as a son of a maidservant. And then there's his life as Narada Muni. But going even further back, we'll hear about his life on Gandharvaloka in the next few verses and why he fell down. But yeah, he did fall down from the exalted position of Gandharvaloka, where these inhabitants are very expert in, they're extremely beautiful and expert in singing. So he fell down to become a śūdra, or the son of a śūdrani. But by the association of devotees, he became more fortunate than he was in Gandharvaloka. Even though cursed by the Prajapatis become a Shudra, in his next life he became the son of Lord Brahmā. So yeah, we could meditate a bit on his life as a son of a maidservant. I'm just waiting for Sankarshan to bring the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. It's kind of taking a while. Maybe he's having a hard time finding the first canto up there. I mean, maybe there's not printed Bhagavatam sets up there or something. Everybody's using their phone these days. Probably, right? Here, I could use Dvija Mani's. Can you bring that Achman cup, please? Thanks. Are you going to Utah this morning? How long will you be gone for? Okay. Have a nice, have a nice trip. Oh yeah? Yeah. Yes, so in the first canto we hear of Narada Muni's wife as a son of a, specifically, before is Narada Muni. Son of a maidservant. Let's see here. All right, this is chapter 5, first canto. Yeah, 1. Yeah. Text 23, 1:5-23. O Muni, in the last millennium, so Narada Muni speaking with Śrīla Vyasadeva, and Narada Muni is the guru of Vyasadeva. So pretty much he's telling them, in a sense, how he came to Krishna consciousness. In the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmins, who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. So these great devotees, Bhakti Vedantas, as Prabhupada called them, they were resting in 4 months, for 4 months, Chaturmasya. They weren't traveling and preaching, and while they were resting in a particular place, Narada Muni's mother, of course, the son of a maidservant, the name's not given, but his life before Narada Muni, he was serving these Bhakti Vedantas, and he was hearing from them. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. O Vyasadeva, in that association, and by the mercy of those great Vedantas, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna. And thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching, and as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished. I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. As they were leaving, those Bhaktivedantas, who were very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of God Himself. By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. So, yeah, he was an ordinary son of this particular maidservant, but he got the opportunity of serving these great souls. And taking their remnants, hearing from them, purified his heart, and eventually it resulted in him becoming so advanced that he, in his next life, became Narada Muni. So then, in the next chapter, Vyasadeva, he asks Narada Muni, he asked Narada Muni, his guru, he said, "O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course?" So, Narada Muni told Vyasadeva, his disciple, his life story, how he came to Krishna consciousness, and then Vyasadeva is asking him, so what happened after initiation? What did you do? So this is text 3 of chapter 6, 163. And then in 4, O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course, so how is it that this subject matter which happened prior to this day of Brahma is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? Śrīla Nārada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmin school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent. Influenced by supreme time. So watch out for the snakes when you're out milking the cow, okay, everybody? Purport, that is the way of dragging a sincere soul near to God. The poor boy was being looked after only by his affectionate mother, and yet the mother was taken from the world by the supreme will in order to put him completely at the mercy of the Lord. So she was bit by a snake while milking a cow. And Srila Prabhupada said that's the way of dragging a sincere soul to Krishna or to God. When difficulties come, the sincere souls, they approach Krishna, or they turn towards Krishna. 10. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north. Purport, confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever, and by the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it. Text 11. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. Okay, 12. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. So he's just traveling. You know, his mother died and he's moving. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerous, fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Purport. It is the duty of a mendicant, Parivrajacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc. To gain faith in God and strength of mind as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyasi is duty-bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephant, and many other jungle animals. So devotees shouldn't try this by going to the zoo. Say, we're gonna imitate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're gonna take a Harinam party to the zoo, right? Saraswar, everybody's gonna chant Hare Krishna with Mridanga Kartal at the San Diego Zoo, one of the biggest zoos in the world, actually. Popular. I don't know if it's the biggest zoo. It might be the biggest zoo, actually. But if you say, okay, now we're going to jump in the cage with the lions and tigers and do some Harinam, so might not make it out of that cage alive. At least the body. The soul will go back to Godhead. But so we can't we can't imitate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went through Jharkhand forest, and he did make the animals there, the elephants and the lions and tigers and all different types of deer. They're all dancing and chanting Hare Krishna and embracing each other, and some of them were even kissing. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi, and in this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their former names. Follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended, and one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajacharya like Narada or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Okay, 14. Thus traveling, I felt tired both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river, lake, and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the supersoul situated within, using my intelligence, as I had learned from liberated souls. So he started meditating. He was traveling through these forests, and eventually became tired and thirsty, and he got to a particular place under a banyan tree, and he started to meditate on the supersoul. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. So, 17. O Vyasadeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. The transcendental form of the Lord, as it is, satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed, as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. So he was meditating, and Krishna appeared to him in his meditation. And then and then Krishna disappeared. I desired to see again that transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore, and thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. So Krishna came, and then he left. Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. So then Krishna spoke to Narada. So again, this is his life as a maidservant and his journey. Him associating with the Bhaktivedantas, taking the remnants of their prasadam, which are spiritualized, transcendentally spiritualized, and which purified his heart, hearing the messages of Godhead from them, serving them, and then them leaving, and then him living with his mother, and then his mother she was going out to milk a cow, right? She got bit by a snake, and then he was alone, so he left. He walked north through all these jungles and forests, and he was sitting there meditating, and in his meditation, he saw Krishna. Krishna appeared there to him. And he was meditating on Krishna and feeling such transcendental ecstasy, love of Krishna he was feeling. And then Krishna just disappeared. He does this sometimes. Sometimes he appears to the devotees, and then he disappears. He does that in many cases, actually, like the Rasa Leela dance. Krishna's dancing with the gopis, and then he disappears. He leaves. And the idea is that the disappearance of Krishna, or Krishna not making himself available to the devotee, that increases the desire of the devotee to have his association. Sometimes people describe it like when they first come to Krishna consciousness, they get a great taste or great attraction to Krishna consciousness. Krishna's attracting them. But then, after some time, to test the person, Krishna may remove himself a bit. And it becomes a little bit more difficult to experience that taste or that attraction. So, but the idea at that particular time is not to give up, but the idea is to continue. And that's the test. Are you going to continue when things aren't easy? So like this, Narada Muni, Krishna appeared before him, and then he disappeared. So it's not that Narada Muni was saying, oh, why did Krishna, what is this Krishna? Why did he disappear? He wasn't angry, but he was feeling the separation of Krishna and wanting his association again. And then while he was wanting the association of Krishna again, Krishna began to speak with him. And this is what he said. "O Narada," the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me. 22. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you'll be freed from all material desires. So that's the idea. If we want to be free from material desires, which we should try to understand is good for us, we should try to understand that. It's a good thing. It's not that material desires are healthy or nice or good, but we should understand that material desires blocks our relationship with Krishna. And the process of becoming free from material desires is to develop our hankering to see Krishna or to associate with Krishna. And then he continues, by a service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation as well as the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. So Krishna is saying that you will be able to remember this by my mercy, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? What does he say? Jnanam apohanam cha. He's the source of all knowledge and forgetfulness. Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offer my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious. All right. And then it comes to this point, which is practically the last point. And so, O Vyasadeva, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death, as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all required fruit of results of work stopped. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. So then it continues. How certain sages appeared, and then they say, I also appeared amongst these sages, Narada Muni is describing. Since then, by the grace of Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and the 3 divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. And thus I travel, constantly singing the transcendental message and glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound, and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. Krishna gave him a veena. It's a pretty special gift, huh? This is described in the Linga Purana, and it's confirmed by Jiva Goswami. So yeah, this is a conversation that between Narada Muni and Śrīla Vyasadeva. I mean, quite an amazing conversation. You can imagine you're sitting there with your guru and you ask him, "Oh, how did you come to Krishna consciousness?" And then he goes into this whole description of a past life. He doesn't even talk about this life. He starts with his past life. It's like, okay, that's quite amazing. He starts with his past life, how he's the son of a maidservant, and all this, and then, like we just described, the whole thing of him associated with Bhaktivedantas, taking the prasadam, hearing, becoming initiated, his mother dying, him traveling, him seeing the personality of Godhead, him disappearing, him traveling, and then him leaving his body, and then taking birth as in the present birth as Narada Muni. So you can imagine your guru telling you all that, and then he says, "Now I'm in this present birth, as your guru." Quite amazing. And I'm able to travel all over the world, from not just material world, spiritual world, everywhere, in a transcendental form. It's quite an amazing conversation. And Prabhupada's purports are very wonderful, all of these purports. So this is the description of, Narada Muni, he's talking with Yudhishthira Maharaj now in the 7th canto. And this was in the 1st canto. So he described this to Vyasadeva in the 1st canto. Now in the 7th canto, which we're reading now, Narada Muni, he's going to describe to Yudhishthira Maharaj his life before the son of a maidservant. So Narada Muni, and then the son of a maidservant, which we just read about. Now the next one is his life before the son of a maidservant in Gandharvaloka, and how he was cursed and accepted that life of the son of a maidservant, or how he was cursed. So that will be described tomorrow. So I didn't want to describe it because we're going to be reading about it the next few days. Govardhan, you're giving class tomorrow? Yeah. So Govardhan's going to get the privilege. I didn't ruin it for him and his class to describe how Narada, how he fell from the heavenly planets to become a son of a maidservant, son of a Shudrani. So. Does anybody have any comments? Yes. Question? Okay, so Veer Chandra, Chad.
Thank you for the class. I want to know about how Narada Muni is a son of Brahma, and how he appeared in heaven planets.
I mean, I don't know if because you're saying his life before heavenly planets, because you have Narada Muni, and then son of a maidservant, and then he's saying before that he was in the heavenly planets. So how did he get to the heavenly planets?
Because of he was a son of Brahma.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, in some ways, you could only go so far back. He already went, actually millions of years back, describing these things. But, yeah. I don't know. I haven't heard it described anywhere. Yeah. So, how did he get to Gandharvaloka? Not sure. Maybe we could figure it out. Yes, Chad.
Hare Krishna. Does it say anywhere when his past lives were revealed to him? Like, was it in his current life at some point or did he remember?
Well, in this reading that we just did, when Krishna is speaking to him, he says that by my grace you'll be able to remember this. So, but obviously Narada Muni, he's a very extraordinary personality. If just thinking of Narada Muni in relation to other personalities, he's unique, extremely unique, in that he appears in practically every canto of the Bhagavatam, if not every canto. He's the guru of Prahlad Maharaj, he's the guru of Dhruva Maharaj, he's the guru of Vyasadeva, and he has instructions in the first canto, he appears in the 10th canto, he appears, practically every canto, as far as I remember. And he's traveling, so many different places throughout the universe, so it's quite an amazing pure devotee of Krishna. I heard there's a description of Narada Muni. I forgot the color of the complexion. Does anyone remember? You remember that, Ramapati? The complexion of Narada Muni? I don't know if it was gold or I'm not sure. So, okay, any other question? Yes. Yeah. Well, here it says, which we read today, let's see. Prabhupada says in the purport that Formerly, during the previous lifetime of Brahma, Lord Narada Muni was one of the denizens of Gandharvaloka, but unfortunately, as will be explained, he fell from his exalted position in Gandharvaloka, where the inhabitants are extremely beautiful and expert in singing, to become a śūdra. So he was cursed by the Prajapatis. He was cursed by certain persons in Gandharvaloka because he was doing something, that they felt was inappropriate and wrong. And they felt he needed to be cursed, so they cursed him. And practically what he was doing was, you could say inappropriate and, curse-worthy in a sense. So therefore he was cursed and he came here. Now, I don't want to say what it was. I mean, some devotees may know what it was, but I don't want to say what it was exactly, and I want to get into details because Govardhan's going to give the class tomorrow, and we don't want to steal his thunder. Steal his thunder. I mean, it will be described in tomorrow's verse, and also it will be described in the next few verses, but I don't want to steal that. So yeah, he was doing something inappropriate. So you'll have to tune in tomorrow. You could come here, or you could tune in, or yes.
I have two questions.
But he was cursed. Yes.
So, can you say in like a short manner some of the central things we learn from this pastime of Narada Muni?
As the son of a maidservant?
Yeah, and his character, how he received blessings from the Bhaktivedantas.
Yeah. Well, Narada Muni, as a son of a maidservant, one of the main, you could say some of the main points we could learn from that is that we are able to become successful by the mercy of devotees. And specifically, what does that mean, mercy? It means to serve them, to hear from them, to associate with them, just like he was doing. So the descriptions are there. So that's definitely one thing we could learn. Another thing is that when difficulties come, we shouldn't turn to anyone else besides Krishna. We should turn to God. We should turn to Krishna, and that's what he did. He turned to Krishna. That's another thing we could learn. And the third thing we could learn is that when turning to Krishna, again, Krishna, he appears sometimes and he disappears sometimes. So this is very deep matter to meditate on. Why does Krishna disappear sometimes in a devotee's life? It doesn't seem like he's reciprocating. Why is that? And many of our acharyas write things in relation to that. And again, that is to increase our eagerness to have his association. And by that eagerness, and specifically by feeling ourselves very fallen, I'm so fallen, Krishna has disappeared, then that purifies our heart, and we come to the platform of pure devotion. So those are some things briefly. But within those 3 points, you could really go, deep into that. Serving devotees, turning to God in difficult situations, and Krishna's reciprocation with his devotees. So.
Thank you. Another question I had was, Krishna says in the Gita that by comparison to his own self, a wise person sees the equality of everyone in both their happiness and distress. And now in spiritual life, you also mentioned how we have ups, we have downs, ups and downs all the time, like that. Mm-hmm. So how do we become steady in ups and downs and still be Krishna conscious in both happiness, intense happiness, and intense distress?
Well, to be unsteady is a particular stage that people go through in spiritual life. It's part of the process for most people in many ways. And that's described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Madhurya Kadambini. Very short book, but it's extremely powerful book and very nice to read. It gives very clear descriptions of the different stages of bhakti. And there's also seminars out there on it. So it's nice if devotees try to meditate on that book, Madhurya Kadambini, hear the lectures or seminars based on that book. But he describes that there's a particular stage of Krishna consciousness where one is unsteady. For example, he gives examples like they may say, today I'm going to chant so many rounds, but then they're not able to do it. Or whatever it may be. Get up earlier or read so much or, whatever it may be. So there's some failing in steadiness. So the solution is one has to come to steady bhakti. One has to come to that platform, that higher platform. So then it's like, okay, well, how do you do that? By constant endeavor, by constant practice, following Rupa Goswami's instructions, utsaha nishchaya tatat karma bhavartana, following the rules and regulations with patience, determination, enthusiasm. So following very strictly, as sincerely as one can, and associating very closely with devotees. If one's able to do that, then to try as best as they can in the association of devotees, avoiding the offenses as far as possible, and being humble and all of that, then one will be able to practically endure any challenging circumstance. And eventually, over time, gradually, they will become more and more steady to the platform where they're just steady. So yeah, it definitely takes some time for all of that, but the main thing is to keep the main thing that, I'm sorry, I know that's a kind of cliche saying, right? You know that saying? What's the saying, Zangarshan? No, there's one before that. No, the main thing. Yeah. So the main thing being, of course, chanting very sincerely in the association of devotees. So yeah, we'll be able to go through any difficulty if we're able, and gradually come to this stage of steadiness. So, all right. No, you had something? No? I don't know, you're holding the mic like you're about to say something.
I know that Narada Muni, right, he was cursed to become the son of a maidservant. So if she's the mother of Narada Muni, she must be like a very exalted personality. Does it?
Yeah.
Also, I heard that devotees don't get bitten by snakes. And then she got bitten by a snake. So.
Yeah, this is pastime. But so many things. I wouldn't say necessarily devotees don't get bit by snakes. So many things happen with devotees. Like ordinary things happen to people. So whether it doesn't give much description of her, whether how advanced she was, or was she ordinary. It does say she's ordinary maidservant, and then she became blessed because he eventually, became who he became. But definitely she's special because she's the mother of such a great personality. That's true. All right, so we'll stop there. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.